Brothers and sisters, Pope Leo XIV has just issued a warning that has shaken the consciences of Catholics over 65 years of age worldwide. It is not a diplomatic document or a speech full of beautiful, weightless words. It is a spiritual pronouncement made with the highest authority of the Catholic Church, directed straight to those who have gray hair, aching knees, and decades of life lived, yet are walking towards eternity carrying a sin that has never been truly confessed. You heard right. A sin that is in your soul right now, at this very moment. While you watch this video, before we proceed, I would sincerely like you to join our community. Click the red subscribe button now and be a part of this endeavor with us. And please, leave a comment with your name and the city where you are watching from. This is very important because at the end of the video, I will say a special prayer for your life, your family, and all your needs, so don't go away. Stay with me until the end so you don't miss this prayer. What's most terrifying isn't the gravity of the sin itself. It's that you probably don't recognize it as a sin. Society has taught you it's a virtue, your family praised you for it. Maybe even some well-meaning priest glossed over it. And so, year after year, this sin has grown inside you like a rotten root, destroying the tree from within, while it remains standing with beautiful flowers and a rosary in hand. We are in Lent, the most serious, most urgent, most decisive time in the Church's calendar. The time God has set aside for you to stop running, stop being distracted, and face the stark truth of your own conscience. And Pope Leo XIV, with a clarity that leaves no room for easy comfort, says that there is a specific sin that is silently destroying the souls of mature Catholics, those who have already raised children, buried loved ones, prayed thousands of Hail Marys, and yet are in real danger of arriving at the judgment seat of Christ unprepared. Because there is a stark difference between growing old within the Church and growing old in God's grace. And that difference has a name, a face, and a specific confession that needs to be made before this Lent ends. Pope Leo XIV is not being cruel when he says this. He is being what every good shepherd needs to be when the wolf is approaching the flock. Honest, firm, and courageous enough to shout the alarm, even if the flock prefers to sleep. It is much more pleasant to listen to a sermon that flatters you, that tells you that you have already done enough. But that's a lie. And a lie that costs eternity cannot be called mercy. You still have time. Lent is still open. The confessional is still open. And God's mercy, which is infinite, is waiting. But it demands that you come with truth, with genuine contrition, with the name of the sin on your lips and its sorrow in your heart. Stay until the end of this video, because what Pope Leo XIV is about to reveal may be the most important message you hear this Lent. To understand the weight of what Pope Leo XIV is saying, you first need to understand what Lent really is. Not what the modern world has transformed it into, but what it has always been since the Church was founded. Lent is not a symbolic fasting season where you stop eating chocolate and feel spiritually superior. Lent is spiritual surgery. It's the moment when the scalpel of God's grace goes deep into the flesh of your conscience and cuts away what is gangrenous. Surgery hurts. Surgery requires you to hand over control to the doctor. Pope Leo XIV understands this with a depth that few leaders have dared to express. He has repeatedly stated that the greatest spiritual crisis of our time is not among the great public sinners. It lies in devout souls who have become accustomed to their own spiritual mediocrity. And this crisis is hitting Catholics over 65 particularly hard. Why? Because at this point in life, the most dangerous sin has settled in the soul for so long that it has become part of the landscape. It has become that old chair in the corner of the room that you don't even see anymore. That is precisely why the Holy Spirit inspired the prophet Joel to cry out, "Even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning. Right now, not tomorrow." Pope Leo XIV placed these words at the heart of his Lenten message. He says that true conversion is not a past event that you display as a trophy. Conversion is a living, everyday reality, or it is no conversion at all. Whoever thinks they converted once and for all 40 years ago has already entered through the door of lukewarmness without realizing it. It creeps in slowly, extinguishing the flame of spiritual fervor that once burned brightly in your heart. And the worst part, you don't even miss the warmth anymore. It is against this lukewarmness that Pope Leo XIV is waging the most important battle of his pontificate. This Lent, he has a name for this sin. And when you hear that name, your first reaction will be resistance. The sin that the Holy Father identifies as the most devastating for Catholics over 65 has a name that classical spirituality knows very well, but that modern Catholicism almost never pronounces anymore. That name is presumption, the presumption of salvation. Don't confuse it with scandalous pride. Presumption appears with a much more dangerous face. It appears with the serene countenance of someone who says, "I've done my part. I've raised my children in the faith. I've suffered enough. God knows how much I've carried. Now all that's left is to wait." This seemingly humble phrase is, in reality, one of the most subtle and lethal forms of spiritual pride. It puts you in the judge's place, deciding on your own that you're already square with God. From that moment, grace stops penetrating. The confessional becomes an empty ritual. Mass becomes an obligation, fulfilled without forbear in Lent. This sacred and urgent time passes another year without truly touching your soul. Pope Leo XIV calls this the golden trap of old age. Golden because it has the appearance of piety. There's a rosary in hand, Sunday Mass, images of saints in the house. But inside, the engine of conversion is switched off. The door of the heart is closed from the inside. And God, who respects your freedom, does not force that door. He knocks. He calls. He sends warnings like this one. But if you don't open it, He won't come in. And here's the detail that Pope Leo XIV emphasizes. Presumption is not merely an abstract error. It has practical and devastating consequences. It appears when you go to confession and list the same 3 or 4 minor faults without any real examination of conscience. When you receive absolution and leave the confessional exactly as you entered, without any firm purpose of change. When confession has become a spiritual checklist and not a transformative encounter with the living mercy of God. Do you recognize this? If so, don't despair. Enter into Lent, because Pope Leo XIV did not come to condemn, he came to awaken. And there is a huge difference between being awakened with a bucket of cold water and being destroyed. Cold water is uncomfortable, but it saves the life of someone who is sleeping near an abyss.